At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Welcome to the Ankler Podcast. This is Sean McNulty of the Wake Up Newsletter here at the Ankler here on the Jersey Shore on Thursday, September 5th. I'm joined in Los Angeles by Elaine Lowe, as always, and Richard Rushfield up in Toronto. Richard, it's totally fine. I said you can skip this week's podcast, Richard, if you want to get to whatever movie theater you don't know where you're going to yet. But Elaine, Richard insisted on joining so we could hear your picks for the winners of the U.S. Open this weekend. So, he insisted you join for this.
Well, I am so honored that you would join all the way from Toronto for that, Richard.
People are stopping me on the street.
He needs the info. He needs the intel.
Asking me, does Elaine think Bjorn Borg is going to take
Bjorn Borg.
Is Jimmy Connors...
him and Johnny Mac. That's who it's going to be this
Johnny
weekend.
Mac, yeah, exactly. Well, Elaine will give us all of her tennis insights in a little bit. I guarantee you she wrote a great piece about the burgeoning LA tennis scene, which we'll dive into a little bit. Been a busy couple of days here for a holiday week. Well, a few things to dive into. All DirecTV customers, of course, are currently without the U.S. Open. Elaine and I will dive into what's afoot there a little bit, and Ashley Collins is going to join us as well to talk a bit about the LA production exodus that's been going on and what lies ahead there. But Richard, you are at the Hollywood East epicenter this week. What's on the big TIFF agenda? You just the festival starts today. We're recording on Thursday, so nothing's really happened yet. But what do you got going on, Richard?
Yeah, I'm off in Canada, eh?
You're already blending, Richard. Very good.
That's right. Take off, you hoser.
That suits you very well.
How many
actually,
Canadians
Richard,
are you planning on offending today, Richard?
Yeah. Canadians, we apologize in advance for Richard's presence in Toronto.
Canadians don't get offended.
That is true. There you go.
They're very well.
Richard tried very hard. Yeah.
sober people. I am here. The Nobu Hotel has just opened.
Oh, there's a hotel too?
They've opened a whole hotel. There's a documentary on him and a hotel, both opening up this weekend. I'm planning to attend many receptions within the Nobu Hotel. So,
is that the place to be this week, Richard? This weekend, Richard?
Apparently, this is where everyone is throwing their parties. So, looking forward to the film and looking forward to the hors d'oeuvres.
Well, clearly, as we're looking forward to your hors d'oeuvre and buffet report, which I'm sure you'll be doing. What's on the film agenda? Anything you're particularly excited about, Richard?
Yeah, it's funny. Last year there was very little that people were truly excited about. There were some films that turned out to be good, but the Zone of Interest, I think, made its North American debut here. But this year, there seemed like a lot of films that people are excited about. There's a lot of things on the lineup. We have tonight, I'm going to the midnight show of Substance with Demi Moore and Margot Qualley playing a young Demi Moore. So that should be fun. A star feuding with the manifestation of her younger self, we're told, in this body horror satire.
Yeah, played a can this year, so definitely raised a lot of eyebrows over there. So that should be a fun one for a midnight showing. So what else you got?
New film by director Andrea Arnold, festival favorite, coming up. Tomorrow night, the Elton John documentary premiere, co-directed by his husband. So
well, there you go.
Expect a hard-hitting look at Sir Elton's life there.
Yeah.
Other things excited about? I'm excited to see Ron Howard's historical thriller Eden, which he made independently. Ron Howard, one of the great sort of, not an insult to say journeyman director, but a director who has handled every genre and done everything, making a film independently at this point in his career, and not a regular on the festival circuit, but
right.
But coming in here, we have Searchlight's film Night Bitch tomorrow night.
Okay,
on Saturday night with Amy Adams, one of their Oscar hopefuls. Premiere of Wild Robot on Saturday.
That's the DreamWorks animated movie from Universal. Yep.
Yeah, Jason Reitman's Saturday Night Live film.
Yes.
Paul Schrader re-teaming up with Richard Gere for the first time since American Gigolo.
Okay.
So a lot of exciting stuff.
Pretty robust for about 3 days of viewing there.
Yeah.
The Saturday Night movie got a lot of pretty strong accolades. I mean, more in the industry press at this point. That was a Telluride, Richard. So this is obviously Jason Reitman, and Toronto was a big thing. So that should be a big event, I would think, Richard, right?
Yeah, I think so. And this after Venice and Telluride, this is sort of the final round of receptions before
the marathon. Yeah,
the Oscar season begins. So
it's on. Yeah,
starts here, and dreams will be made and broken.
As they always are. And of course,
yes.
New York Film Festival picks it up later in September. But this is recording here, I said September 5th. The summer movie season is over, down a mere about 10% was the number, Richard. That was, the comp score number came through from versus 2023. If we had polled people at the end of May, they probably would have fallen on their faces if you told them that was the number. But, the summer came through, Richard, lo and behold.
Really on the backs of two movies overperforming.
True. Well,
I'd like the math on if Deadpool and Inside Out 2 had performed at expectations. So if they had done well but not phenomenally, where would the box office be this year?
Well, if Barbie didn't do what it did last year, that's part of the movie business, Richard. It is what it is. But it's also reckoning time for the three of us. Elaine, are you ready to be judged on your expertise? You'd always love this part.
I think I did pretty well this year.
Well, I'm glad you think that. That's good. That's a positive.
Sean's like, you're in for a rude awakening.
Oh, now. All with love. But yes, of course, at the top of every summer movie season, the three of us start a little tradition here to give our expert predictions on what's going to rule the box office and other small categories. And now it's right after Labor Day, and it's time to pay the piper. So, not bad. I mean, this summer, Richard, we said at the top, and it really didn't veer from the narrative. All three of us, First, we pick our top three films, which we all agreed were Deadpool, Inside Out, and Despicable Me. That was essentially the 1, 2, 3 right there. Nothing, no surprises, of that scale, Richard, that came in the door. So congratulations to us all for picking the favorites.
We're industry oracles.
Exactly. But I did ask us all to pick an alt or a fourth picture, so we are judging on this. So and I win. So congratulations to me, Richard.
Wait, what was the pick? What did I pick?
Well, I'm going to tell you.
No memory of this.
No, well, clearly that was 3 months ago. So Richard had A Quiet Place 2, which was a good guess.
Yeah.
Elaine, you had Furiosa, so unfortunately that did not.
That was a solid guess.
That was a solid guess back in the early part of May. And I had Bad Boys 4, which one of the three movies there was the highest grossing film of those three movies. So that was my alt pick. Congratulations to me.
So you win the title belt this summer.
I'm pretty much. I mean, we have a few other categories here.
None of those are really great dark horses. I mean, they're all sequels.
Oh, no, but it's a fourth place. So I was just saying which one will cut, what will be it. That was more
who gets the superfecta here?
Yeah,
Sean.
I mean, the Twisters would have been the ultimate, if either of us had picked that one, would have been the true winner there. But of the three picks, I certainly, the return on mine was the highest. Sleeper hit, we all kind of missed It Ends With Us. So that was a big whiff on all of our parts. Elaine, you had Fly Me to the Moon, which,
I do remember that.
Do you remember that now coming back to you now? Yeah, not so much on that one. Richard,
what was the sleeper hit of the summer, though?
It Ends With Us I would say
the book talk movie.
I mean, again, the expectations, but no one had $200 million or $250 million globally at this point. So that was definitely the biggest.
Don't underestimate fandoms.
Exactly. Colleen Hoover fandom. Now she has 2 or 3 other movies in the works. So we'll see how that goes. But Richard's Ryan Kaji movie just didn't even chart, so that didn't quite work out. And also mentioned Kinds of Kindness, the Yorgos Lanthimos movies, which did okay, but I wouldn't say that was about $5 million. It delayed with Fly Me to the Moon. I had The Watchers, which also didn't really pan out, so we all struck out on that category. For Trouble Sign, one movies we were concerned about. Elaine had Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which did very well. So, sorry, Elaine, no trouble there.
Fine, I won't worry about the CGI primates next
Do
time.
not worry about that. Never count out the CGI primates, Elaine. Richard had Bad Boys 4, which did exceed. My Trouble Sign was Fly Me to the Moon, which was spot on. That was really nice. So again, giving that to me. And then we had picked our studio winners. Richard and Elaine picked Disney. I just picked Universal as a contrary choice, which was number 2. But I think Disney was going to be the predisposed champion there. So anyway, I win the nominee of the Tim Hortons gift card. Richard, make sure to pick it up in Toronto for me so I get my free coffee and donuts up there north of the border. But a valiant effort. Elaine, any parting thoughts here?
All in all, I didn't embarrass myself, so good for me. A pat on the back for me. That's all right. Better than I did last year when I picked The Flash to win everything.
You had Barbie win last year. You actually had the big winner last year. So I would argue
wipe out
your Flash
shame.
prediction. Yeah, given you had Furiosa and Fly Me to the Moon as part of your success stories this summer. So yeah, I think last summer might have been a better choice. So
for me, I think this is a disaster narrowly avoided and turned into a mere underperformance by Hollywood. And as I pointed out in my column last week, we'll see if you can guess this and test how close you're reading my column. How deep into the top movies of the year list do you think you have to go before you get to something that's not a sequel or a reboot?
Well, It Ends With Us. Does that count as an original film, even though it's based on a book?
Yeah.
Where are we counting IP here?
I'll take that as an original.
So that I would say is probably 7th or 8th, Richard? What do we got?
Yeah, well now you've upset my
Upset your math here.
It Ends With Us is number 11. That is
for the U.S. Okay, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Domestic number.
Okay.
So your going theory is nothing outside of the top, nothing inside of the top 10.
Top 10 was not a sequel.
Franchise reboot.
Exactly. So let's see. Inside Out 2 sequels. Deadpool and Wolverine sequel, Despicable Me 4, Dune Part 2, Twisters.
Oh, this is top 10 for the year. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Twisters 2, Gorilla. So it's...
Okay, yeah, sure. You got Godzilla. Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, you're probably... I get the...
So not planting a lot of seeds for the future here.
No, Colleen Hoover adaptations is your only real sprout of new genre that that you could probably count on there. So no, there will not be a sequel to an original in 2 years out of this summer's crop for sure. So, well, we'll see if The Wild Robot can maybe deliver a new franchise for us, Richard, and that comes out in late September.
I think that could do well. That book is very popular among my children's friends.
Oh, I didn't even know it was a book. So there you go. Look at that. Different
More
demos
IP
here. More IP for you. Well, this weekend we have Beetlejuice 2 coming. So another sequel, which is looking to do big things. Over $100 million plus tracking there. So that looks to be a nice shot in the arm to keep the momentum going here as we go into the fall season. But Richard, we will let you go onto the streets of Toronto there. We look forward to your buffet and hors d'oeuvres reports.
And if you see me out there on the buffet circuit, please say hello. Love to meet Ankler listeners and readers any day.
Yes, if you see a man having a heated conversation with the guy behind the buffet line, that's probably Richard Rushfield. So you can rest assured, go up and get Richard's early take. You can get the preview of his column, Richard.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Richard, good to see you. Thanks for making the time here. Enjoy Toronto. And said you can catch his full roundup there at theankler.com early next week. So, Richard, we'll see you back on the pod in LA next week.
Okay, take care.
All right. So, Elaine, any issues watching the U.S. Open tennis this year? Are you all good out there?
Well, ESPN Plus gets my money about 3 times a year for the 3 slams that it airs. So congratulations to Disney for getting my $11 this month.
That's we just keep it all summer though, right? It goes from Wimbledon through U.S. Open. Is that
Wimbledon, U.S. Open, and then the Australian Open in the new year?
In January or February.
Because NBC has Roland Garros.
Well, now it's going to be TNT or Turner is getting it. Our friends at WBD will be picking up the French Open.
I'll have to fire up the old Max
I hope
account.
you have Max. Yeah, exactly. Where's my tennis anyway? The DirecTV Disney carriage standoff is showing no signs of movement. We're here on, again, Thursday afternoon, kind of the big business story, dominating the week, and certainly the The viewership habits of the American public are about 11 million of them. DirecTV is still the number 3 TV bundle carrier in the U.S. Nothing to sneeze at there. I should say no movement other than some strongly worded letters from corporate comms there, Elaine, this week.
Yeah, here's a question, because I don't keep track of these carriage fights, riveting as they are, as closely as you do, Sean. But has it always been custom for, say, DirecTV to put out a press release calling Disney anti-consumer and just all manner of not so mildly worded insults in an official press release from the company?
Yeah, this isn't somebody talking on an interview or something. This is an official statement from DirecTV saying this. I mean, look, there's certainly been a lot of back and forth in this. In my head, at least, Charter took this up a notch last year in this language, I think, with this, which was the same thing we had with Disney last year, of course, the same time of year. The language there got pretty much, they're just, guys, we don't care about the video business anymore. You're being greedy and we don't care. Before it was a more symbiotic, I think, Elaine, of a relationship where the cable companies, it was a big part of their revenue was selling TV. They were known as cable TV companies.
Right.
And now they are broadband and mobile companies who happen to also have a video product, which is still a large portion of their revenue, but it's going in one direction. They know that. There's no real, mystery involved in that. They want some more flexibility to, create smaller packages, yada, yada. But no one's under any illusion that this business has any chance of a major return here, Elaine. So I think, all gloves are off and everybody's just kind of like, not letting their hair down, but whatever you want to call it, phrase on this.
I was clutching my pearls a little, Sean, at this DirecTV press release. Let me read you a line from the chief content officer at DirecTV. The Walt Disney Company is once again refusing any accountability to consumers, distribution partners, and now the American judicial system. Wow. Disney is in the business of creating alternate realities, but this is the real world where we believe you earn your way and you must answer for your actions. And it's like, wow, that's like an official press release. That's not like a background quote from anyone.
Life in the American way here. I don't know if the national anthem should start playing behind it or something. Yeah, it's like,
them's fighting words.
Certainly, definitely so. So we shall see what happens. With this, we have big tennis, of course. U.S. Open is the semifinals and finals are this weekend, and then college football, of course, is a big weekend.
And don't get me started on how hard it is to watch tennis as a person who has to get all these different streamers, and it's like it's airing on this, it's not airing on that. I don't know. Maybe that's the case for all sports, but it feels extra
tennis
hard.
Is relatively easy. If you're picking a pantheon, try the NFL is on how many different places. If you're going to follow every NFL game.
But a lot of that is on broadcast, right?
Yeah, but it's on different places and different, you have to know where to go. If you're complaining about it,
if I have a TV, I have access to CBS and NBC and ABC.
ESPN Plus. So you have one service and it gives you access to all of it. And next year, or when the ESPN also renewed the U.S. Open deal, I think through 2037 or something like that.
For like 12, 13 years or something, right?
Yeah, and they're going to do the kind of the multicast thing in these rights, so you're kind of you'll be. I'm not even gonna be able to talk to I'm gonna hear Elaine. She's just gonna be in a closet somewhere and just come out 12 days later and be all bleary eyed.
4 screens of simulcast tennis.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Elaine's well-being when those rights kick into place. So we shall see. But yeah, if this goes past Monday night, Monday Night Football premieres on on Monday night, obviously on ESPN, and it's also simulcast on ABC. But yeah, much like last year with Charter, Elaine, this is the exact same timeline. After this weekend, the damage is done. Anybody who's a sports fan who's fed up with this has probably already changed. The Charter standoff lasted, I think, 10 days last summer.
Well, didn't DirecTV say something along the lines of like, well, good luck changing because this is how it is across the board?
For their subscribers, you mean, or for?
Yeah, to their subscribers, because I think subscribers were threatening to cancel because of this whole carriage fight.
Oh, yeah, I mean that's I know someone in my family did that this morning, so they were a long time DirecTV since I'm years DirecTV consumer, and they were just like, nope, we are going over to Verizon Fios. I mean, look, switching a satellite dish is much different than switching a cable box. So, I mean, like from some people don't have that option of a reliable local, cable provider. So there is that, but you still have that dish attached to your roof out there. But if it's inactive, it just becomes part of the furniture there, Elaine, the home decor. But we'll see. DirecTV is a private company, so we do not know, we will not see the effects of this in a quarterly earnings report, Elaine, in terms of what the subscriber loss is, which kind of masks, where Charter had to go before Wall Street again in a few months, and that adds a little bit more responsibility to it, where DirecTV is just, they're mostly still owned by AT&T, and, TPG has a smaller percentage of private equity firms. So it's not exactly apples to apples with Charter, this year. And they're not they don't have a streaming business. There's no broadband business there, Elaine, which, Charter added in free Disney Plus last year was a part of it. So that's not really a factor. So, we shall see. Both sides, as you pointed out in the language, are pretty stern, and there's been no other peep or anything else coming out so far. And this is the big weekend. So keep your eyes peeled, Elaine, and between your tennis coverage, I'm sure you'll be riveted to see how this all ends up.
I just wonder, how is it that this is the way that deals are made in so many different ways? This is like, how they're like, well, if we don't come to a deal, we're going to shut down the government. If we don't come to a deal, we're just going to take away your channels.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, the government shutdown is the only other thing that comes to mind of all right, who else, what other business has this thing, other than, it's like a shipping union or something.
It's a model of recurring business threats.
It's two companies that had a logger. It's not even like a union battle, where it's like, it's literally just two companies making a deal, and it affects so many people. So, but I will say, Elaine, I pointed out in the wake up this morning, but this is the last one. I mean, these things have existed essentially for your whole lifetime, and a good part of mine. This has been, these blackouts are not new. You already get, messages on your TV, call Disney and tell them how upset you are that,
Although I gotta say, growing up as somebody who didn't have cable, I'm actually not as familiar to this as a consumer.
You're like, what are you talking about, Sean?
Yeah. And I immediately went from basically a broadcast-only universe to, there was no cord to cut.
Right, you were already streaming was already
straight
starting.
to streaming, exactly.
Wow, you missed out, Elaine. It was a glorious era.
That's why I'm so just amazed at these gloves off press releases. I'm like, this is like a whole Bravo show right now.
You did not live in this universe that I grew up in, but it's done, because as of next year, when ESPN goes direct to consumer, there's nothing in the bundle that you can't then watch. I mean, without paying another $75 for YouTube TV, another large bundle is your only other option to watch this stuff, Elaine. But as of next year, there'll be no major sport that doesn't have a, quote, in quote, reasonably priced, streaming alternative that you can pay. Peacock has all the, NFL games that, NBC has. Paramount Plus has all the NFL games that CBS has. And ESPN next year will be direct to consumer. So if you want to watch US Open tennis, pay whatever the $25-$30, whatever it's going to be for ESPN flagship next year. And other sports, from NHL to NBA. I mean, maybe there's some Premier League matches on USA Network that are still in the bundle kind of thing. But there's not much in there anymore that, so the consumer's been the one that gets screwed in all this, Elaine, for years. And this, in the end, this has been a major middle finger to the American public. And now this is the last one, Elaine. So going forward, this will not be a real big issue for anybody. So from a perspective of a consumer.
Brave new world for sports consumption.
Brave new world out there. So anyway, well, let's top and tail the first segment here with your favorite topic, tennis, Elaine. What did you discover in LA's exclusive executive tennis playing scene? Give us the scoop.
Okay, this story that I wrote this week on the intersection of the entertainment community and the tennis community out here. This is like that meme for those of you who are chronically online like I am, of that shaking hands meme, and it's like work and play together in perfect harmony. the Venn diagram of
I probably could have got you a gift for your
work.
story if you gave me the more advanced, Elaine,
The Venn diagram of tennis and work this week was like a perfect circle. So the stars aligned for a moment.
Smiling
here.
ear to ear, Elaine. So I can tell our listeners that. But what's going on? What'd you find out?
I talked to a lot of folks out here who play tennis. As you know, I got back into this during the pandemic and found out that a lot of people in the industry play, and they play not just at private clubs, but they play in the local leagues that play on the public courts. And I felt like anytime I was having a conversation with somebody or anybody who listens to the pod, they'd be like, oh yeah, I play too. And, this is how long I've been playing. And then I got to hear, stories of this is how a tennis relationship turned into a professional relationship, or these are all the other industry people I've met through this community.
Networking, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it just seemed to happen very organically. And I learned that this is where some deal making happens. There's time to talk on changeovers when you're in between games, you're grabbing some water.
Right.
There's you can kind of shoot the shit with your partner or the person you're playing against. And there's a group headed up by the showrunner Kit Steinkellner, who I had first met out on the picket lines last year. And she's got a little group going of writers and producers. And it turns out that their coach is also somebody who works in the industry. He used to be an agency assistant at UTA. Now he's a support staffer for somebody who has an overall deal at CBS Studios. And it's funny because I was talking to him and then I was talking to these two other showrunners. And it turns out that they all know each other. And he actually works for one of the other people that I'd interviewed because it's a broad sport, but also a small world out here.
Small world, yeah.
And more so than golf, I feel like this is a sport it's a lot more accessible. It's cheaper. All you need are shoes and a racket and a $12 an hour public court. Even if you're not at one of the fancy courts out here, which a lot of the A-listers are, like
Sure.
Los Angeles Tennis Club or the Beverly Hills Tennis Club or Mulholland. And the weather out here is great. Sorry to you folks out east.
Not right now, but in general, yes.
Well, it's like 100 degrees out here in LA. I don't know who's playing tennis right now in Newton, but
yeah. But a year-round sport you can play, certainly, yeah.
We get the sun year-round, and it also doesn't take up like a whole day the way golf does.
True.
Well, I mean, I think golf takes up, 5-6 hours? I've never actually played a whole round of golf.
If you're playing badly, it does. I'd say maybe more closer to 3.5 to 5, but,
all right. Still several times like a tennis match of 90 minutes. Okay.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can get two tennis matches in the same time. So, yeah.
But if anybody's gotten a deal done on the tennis court, I would love to hear it.
This will be an ongoing series for Elaine, trust me. So please, anytime.
Check in. I'll have my follow-up story in about 2 months.
Yeah, exactly. There'll probably be a Christmas party. Who knows? So you always email Elaine at elaine@theankler.com with just tennis anecdotes in general to talk tennis. Even if there's no scoop, Elaine, right? You're just always game for a good tennis email, right?
People do write me just to talk about tennis, and I'm happy to indulge.
Fantastic. All right, you can check that out over at theankler.com at Elaine's series business column. All right, coming up next, Ashley Collins is going to join us to talk all things LA production, or kind of lack of, and talk tax incentives and the big shift that's been going on in the past few years of production out of California to a lot of other places that are nowhere near LA. So we'll find out what's been going on there. But before we take a quick break, just a nod to check out Katie Rich's latest interview in her Prestige Junkie podcast with Willa Fitzgerald, who stars in the serial killer dating thriller, which has Elaine Lowe written all over it. That one's called Strange Darling. We get in quite a lot of conversation around town and with the American public there. You can search Prestige Junkie wherever you listen to podcasts to check that out. And we'll be back in a moment here with Ashley Collins.
Hi, I'm Ashley Collins, and I write the Dealmakers newsletter for The Ankler. Dealmakers guides readers through the intricate workings of lawyers, agents, and bankers, with insights exclusive to The Ankler covering the fast-changing state of deals, film finance, M&A, and the new frontier of AI law. I also interview some of the biggest names behind the industry's headlines, the people moving the entertainment industry forward, one DocuSign at a time. Dealmakers comes out every other Tuesday as part of a paid subscription to The Ankler. So please join me by subscribing today at theankler.com.
You've maxed out your 401k, you're contributing to an IRA, and making some other investments. You're ahead of the game and doing well. But where do you go from here? The same old story can only get you so far. If you want a new take from a new type of financial professional, we invite you to get a fresh perspective beside an agent with the backing of New York Life. Insurance, investments, retirement, and more. Visit NYL.com to learn more. Investments are offered through registered representatives of NYLife Securities, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC, a New York Life company.
All right, we're now joined by Ashley Collins, who writes the Dealmakers column here at The Ankler. Ashley, good to see you as always.
Good to see you too.
I'll start here just noting something curious out there I saw on the ether this week. Elaine, it's your favorite time of year, investment banker media conference time, which I know the U.S.
goody.
Open and right up and neck. You're equally as excited
me
for
a
both.
good Morgan Stanley conference, a good cornucopia. That's a Goldman Sachs one, right?
Yeah, this is B of A. B of A is up this week. Bank of America, our good close personal friend, the CFO of WBD was there. He gave this quote, which is kind of stood out to me. Content is an area front and center where we are increasing our spend beyond just the strike impact of last year. This is at Warner Brothers Discovery, a place that just laid off about 1,000 folks back in July. But Elaine, when you have about $2 billion being freed up next year, and that it's not going to the NBA, might as well spend it on some movies and TV shows, I guess, right?
It's interesting to hear, given I understand they just had that $9 billion write-down on the cable side, too, for them to actually publicly make any kind of proclamation about content. It doesn't seem like it's really on anybody's priority list, at least not anything that they want to be publicly known for, here's how much we're going to commit. I feel like getting those numbers is you always have to kind of wheedle it out somehow.
Yeah. No one increasing our spend is not a phrase that we've heard in Hollywood in probably about 2 or 2.5 years at this point. And there's a piece in the Financial Times this week also with one of the higher ups at Sony Corporate saying they need to really invest in IP from the ground up, and implying that they're going to be looking to spend because a lot of their IP, the Spider-Man universe, they don't own that. And things like Garfield was not produced by them. So things, they need to get in on the ground floor was, I think, the emphasis that he gave. And Tony Vinciquerra was on stage at the same conference again and kind of, yes, we're looking for IP. And Elaine, Paramount, of course, was in the ether there. They have a lot of IP. Sony was interested in that property as well. So that would track with that, thinking of increasing our IP.
This feels like a positive sign for the industry if you're on the ground and thinking, okay, great, I love to hear a content investment. I love to hear somebody thinking about something that might create a job or a production.
Yeah. All this to say, Ashley, is that the likelihood of any of this content being made in LA is probably not great. So that's a long way around to that saying. But what did you dive into this week in Dealmakers?
Yeah, unless it has to be LA.
Right?
It's not really the first choice, and it sounds like it hasn't been for a long time. Somebody told me earlier this summer that none of his clients are working in LA and that nobody's even scouting LA anymore. And so I started poking around because obviously movies being shot elsewhere has been done forever. But for the most part, LA was still the TV hub.
Right.
But it's gone pretty quiet, and there are people complaining about how eerily empty the studio lots are right now. And somebody told me they live in one of those neighborhoods that are used for the exteriors of everything. And there used to be 1 or 2 crews out a day in their neighborhood, and now it's maybe once a week.
Well, you have a stat in your piece from the film LA, which is certainly a big firm that tracks the shooting. And this is location shooting, not soundstage shooting in LA, but shooting days were down 33% first half of this year versus the 5-year average. So that certainly doesn't bode well for location shooting as well. But what's the source of all this? What's going on, Ashley?
It's expensive. Labor is more expensive. Interest rates are still high. California's tax credit can't really compete with other places, and people are getting used to going elsewhere.
Well, yeah. Tax credits. It's nuts. This numbers are crazy. They're going far away. It's not like we're going to, New Mexico was a hub for a while. That's kind of died down, although Netflix still has a production home there. But it's cheaper to shoot thousands of miles across the earth than it is, and fly everybody there and put them up versus literally shooting in town, right?
Yeah, it is in a lot of cases. And one of the things that people complain most about is the fact that if they can even get in to the California incentive program, they can't count above the line talent, which is a huge cost. And some places cap that, but that's why you have all the Marvel movies going to Atlanta, because they let you count above the line paychecks and there's no cap.
Right. And now they're going to the UK. The Avengers did shoot previously in Atlanta, and they're going to the UK because the UK is even bigger than Atlanta, it seems like now. And the UK shooting is just seemingly gone off the charts in Australia to a degree too. And that's even, even further away. So that's even Atlanta's having some trouble, but certainly some competition, I'll say, put it that way.
Yeah, things are slower in Atlanta than they usually are too. That's one thing everybody said is it's quieter everywhere. It's just worse in LA.
And you said that it pointed to the kind of the downsides for talent in going so far is that the cost of living kind of can come out of their pocket for some people, maybe more, even the showrunners and people who are there even longer perhaps than the talent who comes in for the shoot days and, and goes back home. So that was a problem too, right?
Yeah, you think about the way that TV on location used to be filmed, writing things in a writer's room, an episode at a time.
Quaint.
Like
How
people
quaint. Yeah.
had to actually move their life, right? Like they usually bought houses and enrolled their kids in school, and it was like a real move. Now, because the streamers are shooting TV like everybody else shoots movies, they're not taking people away for as long. And so there's sort of a sense that it's not a, quote, real move. So they're, not paying for as much. Their costs are usually more than they're being given for living expenses.
Right. Their talent is given a fee for shooting on location, but if you're in London or something, it's like, well, that ain't covering your flat rent and if your family's coming with you and all the other expenses that can go on top of that, right?
Yeah. It's not just actors, it's showrunners and other people who have to travel to these things too.
Well, speaking of actors, I remember with the new SAG-AFTRA contract, part of that contract was increasing the relocation reimbursement, right? It's $5,000 a month now, right, Ashley? But that's still
up to 6 months.
Right, but for only up to 6 months. And then that still winds up not covering. I remember the part of the complaint I was hearing is like that still doesn't wind up covering as many expenses as you need when you're talking about like rent and groceries and relocating your entire family to a different state. And
transportation and travel and everything.
All the above, yeah. But, obviously the tax credit, as you mentioned, is a big, in LA and California, I should say, there's a cap of money. There's the limited, no unlimited funds, as you say, in Georgia and the UK and Australia, there's literally there's no top to it. There's no limit. Like, really? Like, we can accept all these projects, and if you qualify, you get the money. Like, that's crazy. Where in California, you have to apply, and it's like not a lottery per se, but I mean, there's only a handful of productions that get a tax credit every year. And if you don't get it, you're paying, full freight. But yeah, I'm trying. There'll be a few factors here that I'm thinking come to mind. And certainly, COVID taught people like you can just do a lot more remotely. Like, you don't need to, not that was a big factor, but I think that's, it's just why productions, there's such a psychological hold on LA. And I think that may have been a little more of like, oh, we can do a lot more with people in remote places. And certainly technology got a lot faster and things like that. But like that mentality of like, I don't need to be here to do this thing that we previously thought we needed to be here for opens that up more, would be one factor of it. And then I think, just the decline of broadcast TV. There's no more sitcoms. What shoots on sound stages? Sitcoms. Like there's 5, I think, on the schedule now where they would be, dominated before, and doing 22 episode seasons where, as you said, 10 months out of the year, your life's in the show, where now it's like you can shoot a show in 4 months, 5 months, easy enough to pack it up and go and come back and make it a traveling circus. So that, I don't know, those things about what's changed about the business outside of tax breaks that may be really factoring in here, Ashley.
Yeah. People left, people moved during COVID.
Right, they left too. Yeah, right.
And something else that somebody pointed out is that at the beginning of the writer's strike, a lot of people took productions that had been written and took them overseas so that they could shoot them without fear of being shut down.
Oh, right.
And they got used to working with crews
you find
overseas.
Great crews, right? Yeah, you find great people. Oh, there's a lot of good people here. And we get a tax credit and, X, Y, and Z on top of it. And look, the actors and writers got well-deserved raises in the new deals, but things are getting more expensive and the money's going to come from somewhere. And we all know an income from the studios. Like, Elaine, this money has to be found. And I think this is where people seem to be really looking at this point in the evolutionary process. I mean, I'll say, well, actually, there wasn't a lot of optimism. This is coming back. Like, no one's like, oh, just give it a year or two. That wasn't a sentiment that seemed to come up in your reporting.
Yeah, one person was super optimistic, but that was the person who was like, it's bad everywhere. It'll get better everywhere.
There's nowhere to go but up now.
That's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. We got to, listen, I like the idea. We're just spitballing ideas here, Yeah.
Something that struck me about your story, Ashley, is, when we were talking about sort of the relocating and the sort of temporary nature that some people see making TV and film as now, because there aren't 22, 24 episode sitcoms, that feels like the undercurrent of the conversation when we're talking about the industry now, when we're talking about the sustainability of a career here, is how can you create career longevity out of any of this when everything seems to sort of film in little pockets and then just go away, and you don't know when this next season of the streaming show is going to come back. I don't know. What was your sense in of that.
I think you're absolutely right. There are fewer episodes and fewer seasons, and a lot of things are question marks. And every year there's stuff that's canceled that people are absolutely shocked by. So it's hard to plan. And LA is an expensive place to live. And a lot of people are asking, do you need to be in physical Hollywood to have a career in the entertainment industry now? And there is no clear answer. Yeah, it's probably the best place to get your start. If you can get a foot in the door, I don't think there's any better place to learn how to work in Hollywood, regardless of what your job is. And all the decision makers are still there. But if you're a mid-career first AD,
you could be anywhere.
You could be anywhere.
You could be in Vancouver. You could be in Atlanta. You could be in New York. You could do stints. I've talked to 80s actually who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this shoot in upstate New York and then I'll have to fly out to someplace else. But it's such a nomadic lifestyle. And I wonder how much more nomadic it's gotten over the last 10 years in the streaming era.
Yeah. Well, the ability's gone up, Elaine. Yeah, exactly. So why am I paying this rent if, hey, I can fly into Vancouver to work 4 months from anywhere? Why am I leaving my home base in LA? I can be home base, we're seeing Vegas become a hotbed, which has certainly been cheaper as well. And some production dollars, shift there where, as I said, COVID opened people's minds to a lot of this. The business has shifted out. It's just, it's an evolution here. And, as for upping that tax credit though, Ashley will kind of round out here. It's a little hard to get political capital to say this is taxpayer money, and let's be clear with what this stuff is. This is government money that's going to fund essentially TV shows and movies. That's just what it is. So, people in California, if you want to up that tax credit budget every year, so we're giving the people who make these $20 million to $50 million salaries, executives in the CEO suite, and we're giving them more money. That's taxpayer money. So the goodwill is kind of hard to come by to a degree, but they're trying to figure out a solve here. Is that tell me what's going on here, Ashley?
Yeah, it's a real shame too, because this is one of those situations where it's a smart spend because it pays for itself. They've done studies about the economic impact, and it's $24 in economic value to the state for every dollar that's spent on this program, which is all well and good. But
Sure.
Even just tax money, it's profitable. The last study I think somebody mentioned was an LA EDC study that said it was a direct $1.07 return for taxes. So the program is paying for itself. Yes, it seems flashy. It seems like sparkly Hollywood, but at the end of the day, most people in Hollywood are regular people, right? It's not superstars. And
right. No, it's just a perception issue, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Is that but it's hard to make that sell. I guess it's very complicated. Not complicated, but it's not cut and dry. I'll put it that way.
And I think that's one of the goals of this new LA commission. They've got heavy hitters from all over the place, from the industry, from the film office. And I know one of their chief goals is Sacramento, is how someone put it. And I think helping to craft that message so that they can convince people that they're not taking money away from schools or roads or whatever.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. It's no, it's not. No, it's on paper. You may look at it this way, but you have to look at it and this. And here's the 20 studies that have been done on this. So hopefully California can map a future out to better compete here with the resources that have grown not just in the U.S. here, but certainly abroad. But I will note, and note of optimism here. Peacock just ordered a series based on the movie The Burbs, famous Tom Hanks movie from the 80s. I'll put a pin in that, Elaine. This isn't a rant about remakes. This is not a rant about remakes, Elaine, so don't worry about that. But it is shooting here in LA. So we have a new TV series.
All right, there's one. We got one on the board.
We got one. Put one on the board. Thank you, Elaine. Exactly right. So this does exist. It's not all leaving. So anyway, a great read to check out with a ton of details and great quotes from industry experts there over at theankler.com. And we'll just tie it back here into the box office to finish out. We have Beetlejuice, the sequel, in theaters this weekend, a movie that was shot in London. The original was shot in Culver City. So, sorry. I tried hard, guys. I got the burbs. That's all I got. So
London strikes me as also a very expensive place to do anything.
Now you get I think it's a 40% tax credit or something like that. It's a lot less for that. So Warner Brothers is saving some bucks there for all their new content delaying. So Warner Brothers definitely investing heavily over in their big studio in London. But anyway, I'll break down all of the likely very large Beetlejuice numbers to know in the Wake Up on Sunday night, which you get as part of your Ankler subscription. Just pop in the old email address over at theankler.com to subscribe, which also gets you Ashley's Dealmakers column, Elaine's Serious Business column, and everything here at The Ankler. Also easy to reach us here at the podcast anytime at podcasts@theankler.com, and follow The Ankler on the socials at The Ankler on your favorite social platform. Elaine, good to see you as always. Ashley, thank you for joining, and a big thanks to all of you for listening. We'll see you next time.